Now we're going to learn how to make a drawing of an assembly. So we'll start with the simple stuff. Go to New, choose ANSI drawing, and do some of the basic stuff here. So I don't want this giant sheet, even though assembly might require a larger sheet, but I'm going to stick with the B size. And I'm going to change my properties. So I have a title, pulley assembly, and I'm going to fix my name and apply, and that looks good. We're going to go through the same process to start that we did before. We want a base, and so we want the assembly to be our base, so pulley assembly. And you can see I've got to choose a view for my base. I'm going to go with that view. I think that gives me the best picture of what this is. And I have to choose a scale. The 1:1 seems too big, but the 1:2 seems, or half seems too small. I'm going to go with 1 to 1.5, just to give me a flexible sized view. And then I'm going to project that view. And I really only need one projected view, I think. And I need that view. And so I'm going to create there. And that's a starting point anyway. Now, I want to show you some tricks. So the thing about an assembly drawing is we know the dimensions already, so we don't really need the dimensions. What we want to do is show how the part works. And so sometimes there are ways you want to show that give you some details that these don't. So one of them is called a section view. So we're going to make a section view here. So I'm going to go to the section, and you see how the little yellow dot comes up? It's suggesting different sectionings. And I can do any, but I want a section right through the middle. I want to show that sort of that key apparatus with the pulley. So I'm going to go right through the middle, and I'm going to then right click and click continue. And you can see it draws that picture halfway as if it were cut in half. I could put it up here, but that looks kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to go with this view and move it later. So I'm going to click that view, and I'm going to escape out of this so I can move some stuff around. And see if I can grab this and move it up there. And this guy here is telling where to look for that section view. And there's a lot of stuff. The view sheet and view sheet index, those are things that I don't really need because my sheet is pretty small. So the only thing I need is a view identifier. So I'm going to get rid of some of that complicated stuff. And you can see then this is section AA, so it goes from point A to point A. Similarly, I don't need the parent zone. So those zones are parts of the sheet. So you can see when you look at a sheet, it's got 4, 3, 2, 1, B, and A. So this would be B4 and B3. So sometimes it's useful if you got a really big sheet to be able to point out different parts of it. But I think we're okay without that in this case. I think I still need something smaller here. Maybe I'm going to go. So I'm going to go back to my base view and edit my base view. So go to edit view, and I'm going to go with the 1.5 instead of messing around. And because the other ones are, if I look in here, you'll see this box is checked. That says it's going to follow the style from the base. That includes the scale. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the one that followed the scale from the base. And so that's going to follow that. Actually, one of the things I want to do is I want this guy to be in a little more color. And so I'm going to go in here and go into the edit view here, and I'm going to click shaded there so we get a shaded picture of that. And I want to also go in, there's a lot of detail here that I want to show. So I've got some parts here, the collar, the bushings, the key, and the washers that I want to kind of point out. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the hashing because they're small parts, so that hashing doesn't really work because it's very far apart. So I'm going to change the scale of the hashing. So we're going to go to 0.255 for the scale of the hashing. So there my key is a little more visible. And with this one, I'm going to go even smaller, 0.125. And you can see that's at an angle of 45. I'm going to make the other bushing match that. So I'm going to change this angle to 45 and the scale to 125. And so now you see that my hatching matches there and there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make this. You can choose different styles too. You can choose that style. And I'm going to go really small here because it's such a small part that it's hard to see the hatching. So I'm going to do that with both washers. So edit that. If I edit hatch style, that's actually going to edit all of the hatches on the whole part. I don't really want that. What did I change this to? ANSI 32. So there we go. So now you can see, I can see my parts a little bit better. But maybe that's still not good enough to really show the detail. So what I want to do is have a detail view. And so I'm going to go to a detail view. And I want this center part. And so I'm going to click with left. And you see I click again with the left and I get that sort of expanding view. And I want to capture some of that there. And so that enlarges that for me. Again, I don't need that sheet zone in there, so I'm going to take that out. And then that just tells me it's detail B. Get rid of my parent zone here. And so this tells me to look over here for the detail. Now I want to tell people what those different parts are. So there are a couple of things I can do to do that. One, I'm going to add a parts list. So I'm going to go to annotate, and I'm going to add a parts list, and I'm going to select this document again, the assembly. And let's see, standard, everything looks okay there. A BOM is a bill of materials. I'm just going to click yes there. I'm just going to grab that and put it there. That's a little big for me. So I'm going to shrink it down some. But I get my parts list. Getting a little tight in here. And now I'm going to annotate this. So I'm going to have a text leader. And I'm going to point that. I'd left click it. And what was I pointing at? The bushing. So I'm going to put bushing there. And then I want to point to the other bushing as well. So I'm going to escape out, and I'm going to right-click that line and choose Add a Vertex. And what that allows me to do is add a second leader to that one label. Okay. So now I want this guy. That's my key. And I want my washers. So left click, washer, and then I'm going to escape out, add a leader, and connect it there. And so there I got my washer and my bushing, and let's add my collar too. So people can get a better understanding of what that is a picture of. Now I might also add the numbers for the item numbers here. So if I wanted to, I could go back and double click this and say bushing just put a 5 in there. And my key is part 2, and so forth, like that. Okay, so did a little annotation there. So that looks kind of nice. There's one more way that we want to show this view. I'm going to save this while I'm thinking. Pulley assembly. I'm going to call this pulley assembly 1. Okay. And save that. I want to put it what's called an exploded view in here. That is a picture of the thing as it would be manufactured. So in order to do that, I actually have to open a whole new file. So I'm going to new, and I'm going down to presentation. So I want a millimeter presentation. And I click create. And I have to choose that assembly again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart so that I can take a picture of it. I'm going to start with it kind of like this. We're going to use tweak components, which allows us to move each of these components. And I'm going to move these out in a way that makes it look like we're sort of assembling this as we go. So I'm going to click that once. Now I don't want to click anything again until I click this arrow. That tells me that I want to follow in a coordinate direction. And that makes this a lot easier. So I go there and click return. And then I want this collar. And I want to tweak that, and I want to pull that way out here. And click return. If you notice that you're clicking return to not do anything, put your cursor back in that this box here that tells you how far you can move a piece. So we're going to take that bushing there. And then we're going to tweak this. Oops, I messed up. So I'm going to escape out. I'm going to tweak again. It's very easy to grab the wrong thing here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to move this guy down, the base plate. And I'm going to move this whole brace to the right. So I want to left click, holding down shift as I do this. You see how it's lighting up all of those different things. Then I'm going to click tweak. Then I'm going to move all of those together. If you notice they're not moving all together, just click escape and try it again. And then put my cursor in that box and click return. Remove my washer. That. I'm going to keep my pulley in the same place, and you'll see why in just a second. So I'm going to grab this side, holding down shift so I can grab multiple parts. And then grabbing the whole thing like so. Clicking return. Tweak. Oops, I tweaked the wrong thing, so I'm going to escape out. Come on. Why is it not letting me grab the washer? That's the one I want. I'm going to move that a little bit. And now, why was I not moved? Because I wanted that pulley to be in the middle, and I want to move it up. So I'm going to tweak components, and I want to grab not only that, but also the key. So I'm going to shift and grab that key. Now I've got both of those, and I'm going to pull that above here. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to show that the key is inside that slot there. So now I'm just going to move the key itself off to the side, like that. And the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab all of these bolts and move them up. So while holding shift, grabbing all 4 of them. And then I'm looking for don't see the arrow, so I wasn't on tweak. So I grab that and like so, and click return. And that's my basic setup. I think that looks all right. Pretty symmetrical, pretty easy to understand what's going on there. And then to use that in a drawing, I need to take a snapshot. So I go up here to New Snapshot View, and I click Snapshot View. So that I've got a snapshot view. Now I'm going to save this whole thing as a presentation. So I'm going to call that one. And go there. Now I want to go back here, and I want to place a view. And I'm going to click Base View, and I think it'll, yeah, so it gives me, see that pulley assembly one.ipn. That IPN is a presentation, so that's what I want. And so you can see it's got that right there. That looks like, you know, let's see what half looks like here. Half might be too big. I think it's probably too big. Let's see if we can make some room for it. We could make our sheet bigger too. This, notice this doesn't let me try to move left. I've got to move my base view to the left, and everything else comes with it. So what if I move my detail view down there, and I move this guy up there? That's maybe a little busy, but then maybe we change this to make it a smaller scale. Let's just go half scale on that guy. And it kind of fits together. That's not the prettiest. I'd mess around with that some more because I'm not very satisfied with how that looks in the layout. But it's a pretty good start. And so you can see section views, exploded views, and detail views all give us a way of understanding how we're putting a part together. Oh, that bugs me too much. That A is off the drawing. I'm gonna let you. All right, stop fiddling. Let's move some of these. So, oh my God, what a mess. There we go. Okay, so you can fiddle with yours to make it look nice. This is a little messy, but it's solid, and it does show you what you need to see. All right, that's how you do a drawing for an assembly.